What up, gang? Carolina Jackpot coming at you. It's Saturday morning, and it's time for some rapid-fire picks against the spread for today's games, week number 12. Can't believe that we only got one more week of regular season college football after this. It seems like just yesterday it was August. I mean, that does sound cliche, but it really does. Time has really flown by this year. We've all been having a lot of fun. If you're not subscribed to this channel, hit the thumbs up and please subscribe to the channel. Carolina Jackpot's currently at 9,981 subscribers by my math, would put me at 19 off of the 10,000 subscriber mark. I really appreciate it, guys. I owe it a lot to you guys. I also owe a lot to Rob Sanders, my podcast partner on the Rob and Kale show that we do on Saturday or Sunday nights, and we do it on Wednesday nights. And we also live stream his AM 1400 in Columbia radio show here, the Rundown with Rob Sanders. He's gotten some good viewership and following out of that, and he is also the reason for us getting some of these subscribers. So I do appreciate Rob as well. I'm going to fire these off rapid style. Like I said, the rapid, I worked a lot this week style. You know, I didn't have time really to sit down with the paper to circle all the games. That's just too much research goes into that. I do a lot of them, and I tried to do as many as I could this year, but I've been traveling for work ever since football season started, and I don't know if any of you guys travel a lot, but if you spend the night out in hotels, man, you are just dog tired. It seems like as soon as you're like done eating or whatever, you get back, unless you're out doing stuff that you ain't got no business doing on the road at nighttime, and that's not Carolina Jackpot. I'm a good family man. So I'm going to give these to you. Games of interest to me. I don't have everything on the docket, but most of it. Anything that's important is on here. Florida State at Boston College. Boston College today laying 2 points at home. I like Boston College in this game to cover against Florida State, especially with the return of their quarterback, Phil Dracovic. I think that gives them a dimension that they didn't have without him. And while the season's been a little bit disappointing for them because of that, I think they'll come out and get the win over Florida State. I think Florida State's probably riding a little bit of emotional high after that big win against Miami. And winning at BC is tough, especially for a Florida school that's not used to those nasty temperatures. I think it'll really have an effect on them. South Alabama at Tennessee. Excuse me. Burritos last night. Tennessee 28-point favorite at home. Both these are 5-5 teams. I would have went with South Alabama to cover here if Jake Bentley, former Gamecock quarterback, had been playing. Say what you want about him. He does open up their passing attack a lot. And unfortunately, he's got a knee. He'll miss the rest of this season. College football career, it's got to be done. He's got to be out of eligibility. And it just sucks for Jake. He guy has the worst luck of anyone I've ever seen. But good luck to him in the future. Tennessee's a 28-point home favorite. I look for them to cover that. I think they will come out tonight and try to do some things, test some things out for their final game against Vanderbilt and for the bowl game to kind of get prepared for that. They're going to end up 7-5. They'll win this and they'll win against Vandy, and hopefully they'll go to a decent bowl game against an ACC team and defeat them. We got Vanderbilt at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is laying 35.5 at home against Vandy. I would say Ole Miss comes out in a flat spot maybe, but then again, I don't know. This would be, I believe, I'm not sure where the Egg Bowl is this year, but Matt Corral has already made his intentions known, I think yesterday, that he's going to enter the NFL draft. So this will be his final hurrah. I guess I'm just going to go on ahead and go with Ole Miss here. Vanderbilt, the quarterback, Ken Seals, who's the starter, is banged up. Probably not going to play. Their running back, Rocco Griffin, also banged up. Probably not going to play. Now, the Mike Wright, the dual threat quarterback for Vanderbilt, has actually done a little bit better than Seals when he's played. But without a backup to him, that could be problematic. And I just keep thinking in the back of my head how Georgia and Florida bent Vanderbilt over, and I'm just wondering, will that happen again? Give me Ole Miss. I think they'll win 40-something to nothing or 3. Wake Forest at Clemson. Clemson's laying 4 at home. not a homer pick here. I'm just going to go with Wake Forest. I think this Clemson being favored line is just a little bit of an overreaction to their success against Wake Forest in like the past 10, 15 years. I mean, they've absolutely obliterated them, even when Wake had good teams. And also, to Brent Venables supposedly understanding the, the fast mesh offense, whatever, slow mesh offense. Wake Forest runs, whatever they're calling it this year. Things change from year to year, and those were not the same Clemson team as this Clemson team is. This Clemson team's offense is not good. Now, granted, Wake Forest defense is not very good, but I'm not necessarily sure that Clemson has the Jimmies or the Joes today in this game to take care of it, or to take advantage of it, I should say. Ukulele has still been looking bad. Justin Ross is not playing in this game. So I don't know. I don't know about the status of Will Shipley, but I'm taking Wake Forest here. I would not bet this, though. It's still just a dangerous spot. I'm not totally bought in on Wake Forest, but hey, I mean, they have done what they've had to do this year. They've beaten all the teams in front of them except for North Carolina. And even though they may not have done it convincingly, they found a way to win these games. They're tough. They play smart football, and they play well as a unit, and they're well coached. I look for them to get this win here. Clemson hasn't lost a regular season home game in like 5 years, which is outstanding. I think it may come to an end today. Give me Wake Forest. New Mexico State at Kentucky. Kentucky laying 35.5 at home. I would say that Kentucky is just going to phone this one in because, who the hell wants to be playing New Mexico State next to last week in November? But New Mexico State really looked bad last week against Alabama, especially in the second half. Of Alabama decided to run the ball. They were getting 7, 8, 10 yards a pop. Chris Rodriguez for Kentucky, I think, could end up doing the same thing today at New Mexico State. Their second week in a row on the road. That's just a depleted roster anyway. Give me Kentucky to cover that 35.5. Michigan State at Oklahoma, or at Ohio State. Ohio State laying 19 at home. I'm not going to say that I think Michigan State's going to win this game. I think they'll come out and fight hard. I mean, this is it. This is for all the marbles. They don't win here today. There's no playoffs. There's no chance at a Big Ten championship. There's none of that. You may make a New Year's Six bowl, and that's about it. And even that would be questionable if Ohio State beats Michigan. I mean, I don't know that you even get that. So give me Michigan State to cover here. If Kenneth Walker can get going, I think that they can chew up some clock. They can, kind of ground and pound, keep the game relatively close. I still think Ohio State wins. Just think that is one of the best offenses in the country. But I do think that Michigan State is going to play them as tough as they possibly can here. Like I said, their Super Bowl. Rutgers at Penn State. Penn State is laying 18.5 at home. This is just too many points. This, to me, I would take this as my lock, stock, and two smoking barrels of the day. I think Penn State will win the game, but I think Rutgers is going to cover here. Penn State coming off of a 21-17 hard-fought loss against Michigan. Now playing Rutgers, are you really going to get up for that? Rutgers, but you're not going to get up for it. But yet Rutgers has got a pretty good team. They're pretty well coached under Schiano. They had, some success early and then kind of fell off the middle part of the season. They've picked up a little bit last week. They covered on the road and won outright 35-3 against a terrible Indiana team when they were an underdog. People doubted them there. I'm not doubting them here. They're well coached. I think they'll probably lose the game by about 14 points, but give me Rutgers to cover. Texas at West Virginia. West Virginia laying 2.5 at home. Texas hasn't looked impressive all year long after that loss to Oklahoma. They just absolutely got gashed in the second half of that game, and that has left them flat all year long. Bijan Robinson out for the year. West Virginia's not good, but Texas is worse. Going ahead and give me the couch burners. You cover there. Iowa State at Oklahoma laying 3.5 at home. I think they get this win. I think they bounce back here. in this spot, and with a win over Oklahoma State next week, I assume, they can still make the Big 12 championship game. You got to have this one. Iowa State's not making it. So go on ahead and give me Oklahoma here to cover at home against Iowa State. I think they get this win. You got Illinois on the road at Iowa. Iowa is laying 12.5 at home. That's too many points also. Iowa, the offense is not, they're not geared to beat teams by 12.5 points. It's just not. And Illinois is a team that I like to call them their season right now. They're 4-6. I thought they were a little better than that, but they're 4-6. If they upset them today and then get a win over Northwestern next week, which they should, they'll be in a bowl game. Highly unlikely. They probably finish 5-7, but they have been a proverbial turd in the punch bowl this year. I mean, they messed up Nebraska first week of the season, and we saw them mess up. Who was it? Penn State, and they knocked off Minnesota. It's like the decent teams on their schedule, they're beating them, and the bad teams, they can't beat. I like Illinois here to cover the spread against Iowa. I don't trust anything about Iowa's offense. Defensively, I think they're really good, but this is just going to be an ugly game to watch. I think maybe 4 people will be tuning into it, unless they're an Illinois or an Iowa fan. Georgia Tech at Notre Dame. Notre Dame laying 17.5 at home. Go on ahead and give me the Golden Domers to cover this one. Georgia Tech's not playing good football right now. They've been giving up a lot of points lately. It seems like they've kind of folded up shop a little bit and not playing as well as they were. And Notre Dame, I mean, for what they are, I mean, they've quietly amassed a really good record this year. They're set to go 11-1, and if things go crazy at the top of that playoff chart, you have an Iowa State or an Oklahoma. Can't even talk. If you have an Oregon lose this week, you have an Ohio State lose. I mean, it's a possibility, a very slight one, but it's a possibility that they could find a way to get themselves in there. Give me Notre Dame to cover there. We'll get back to that one. I've abbreviated these things, and I have no clue who that is. My writing is awful. SMU at Cincinnati. Cincinnati is laying 10 at home against SMU. They've got to have some points here. They got to have some hashtag style points. You have not gotten them. You hadn't gotten them the past 3-4 times out that you should have gotten them. And I mean, you've put up some points, Cincinnati, but you haven't won by margin. You need to start winning by margin and covering spreads. 10 is not that much to cover against an SMU team. I don't think they're that good. They had their chance at the American Athletic Western Side Championship, and they blew it, lost to Houston. I think Cincinnati covers this game here. This is going to be a raucous crowd at home at Nippert Stadium. It's their last home game of the season. But watch out for next week. I'm telling you, the Purple Pirates. But anyway, I think SMU comes in here, and Cincinnati's going to dominate them from start to finish. That's what I'm looking for to happen in this one. Cincy at home covers. Got Michigan on the road against Maryland. Maryland laying 15.5 at home. Maryland's a team that can score some points, and to me, this is just a little bit too much for Michigan to cover on the road, coming off of what I think is this is just one of those flat spots. Come off with a big emotional win, hard-fought win against Penn State on the road. You're at home next week against Ohio State. Everybody's looking forward to that. Now, I mean, really well-coached teams don't let this affect them. But, I mean, in some degree, it's going to, regardless. I'm going to take the Maryland Terps to cover here at home. And that 15.5 is just a little bit too much. Oklahoma State at Texas Tech. Texas Tech is a 10-point home underdog. Give me Oklahoma State. Been playing some pretty good football. I think they get this win fairly easily. East Carolina at Navy. Navy is catching 4 at home against East Carolina. All of East Carolina's games have been really tight. They're bowl eligible right now. Had a big emotional win last week at Memphis, where they fought back, went to overtime, won that game. Next week, they've got a home game against Cincinnati, and believe it or not, this is a spot where Cincinnati could take a tumble. This is kind of a weird, trappy game here on the road against a Naval Academy team with a strange offense that you only play like once a year. I'm calling for the upset here. Give me the midshipmen to cover against East Carolina at home. Virginia going on the road at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is a 14.5-point home favorite. Give me Pittsburgh to win and cover that spread. They have one of the best offenses in the country. And Virginia, while they have overachieved a little bit this year, they've fallen off the rails in recent weeks. The injury to Brennan Armstrong, their quarterback. Their offense is just not the same without him in there. We saw that evidence last week. Only scored 3 points against Notre Dame. And I think Pitt just keeps rolling right along, and they cover this number against Virginia. Got Arkansas at Alabama. Alabama laying 20.5 at home. Alabama is one that I don't know what to make of them this year. I mean, Alabama's always a really good team. I mean, they're an elite level team. It's obvious, okay? But are they elite level this year? I mean, they crushed Miami to open the season. They, for all intents and purposes, crushed a good Ole Miss team. They were up 35-7 on them at half when everybody thought this was going to be the upset darling of the week. They were going to, they're going to be the SEC West team. Lane Kiffin was going to take down the master, and it didn't happen. They ended up winning like 42-21, but the final score really not indicative of how much of a blowout the game really was. But then you also see them struggle stopping the run and struggle with a Florida team that turned out to be horrible. Then they turn around and they cave the skull in of a pretty good Mississippi State team, 49-9. You lose to Texas A&M. As the first week Texas A&M decides to find an offense, they beat you. And then we turn around and we're like one completion away from Max Johnson from losing to an awful LSU team. So I really don't know what to think here. Last week you looked good, looked like Alabama again, but you played New Mexico State. Arkansas, I think Sam Pittman's going to have this team out here scrapping and fighting. You got the Iron Bowl next week. I just got to think that Nick Saban's going to have this team ready. And I do think Arkansas is going to scrap and fight, but they're just not. It looks like to me when they play the more elite teams on their schedule, they're really outmatched, as evidenced by their game against Georgia earlier in the season. I'm going to go on ahead and mess around and take Alabama here to cover the spread. It's really hard to doubt them after what we've seen them do the past 10 years. Got UAB going on the road to UT San Antonio. UT San Antonio, 4.5-point home favorite. UAB is a good football team. Bill Clark's done some good things there with that program. However, I just think UTSA is the better team here. They came out kind of flat last week and didn't look that good. Ended up getting a 10-point victory against a terrible Southern Miss team. But that Southern Miss team went on the road last night and beat La Tech. So maybe they're beginning to find themselves a little bit. I don't know. But I got to think that UTSA is the better team here, and they cover that 4.5. Nebraska on the road at Wisconsin. Wisconsin's laying 10 at home against Nebraska. I think that's too much points. I think this game's going to be tighter than that. Yes, I know Wisconsin has blown out a couple of teams lately, and they seem to have found an offense. But this Nebraska, I think it's just a team that matches up really good with Wisconsin. It's just defense on defense, and the mantra this year of Nebraska has been that they play close games against decent teams. Played a close game against Michigan. Played a close game against Michigan State. I think they do it again here today. Give me the Cornhuskers to cover that number. Syracuse at North Carolina State. North Carolina State laying 11.5 at home against Syracuse. I don't know what to make of Syracuse either. It looked like they were starting to come into their own a little bit. Got a road win against Virginia Tech. And, you know, barely lost to Florida State, barely lost to Wake Forest. Looked like they were turning the corner a little bit, and then they go last week and just absolutely gets dismantled by Louisville, which a team with, yes, a good offense, but a horrible defense, and they held you to 3 points. Hell, Duke scored 25 points on Louisville's defense the other night. So I'm not sure here. I would like to take Syracuse to cover this and say, well, that was a one-off, and I think they bounced back against NC State, but I really just don't see it happening. I think NC State probably wins by a couple of scores. Devin Leary and them have been picking teams apart. They fell short against Wake Forest on the road last week, and what was their game of the year, but I think they win this one here and get ready for North Carolina next week, a team that I think is certainly beatable, and finish up a really nice season. Florida going on the road to Mizzou. Mizzou is an 8.5-point underdog at home. This line seems tricky to me, just because, why would you put Florida? It opened up at like a 10-point favorite. Now it's been bet down to 8.5. Why would they be favored over anyone? Is what everybody's saying. My God, look at them. They got blew out by South Carolina. Let Samford put 50-something points on them, and they're right. But I just got to think there's something here. Mizzou is not a good football team. I'm sorry. I know that, they took care of business against the Gamecocks last week, but I think they played out of their minds in that game, especially on defense. I don't know that they can certainly do it again this week. And, for what it is, Florida still statistically is a good team offensively. And they have a defense that, when it's dialed up, it can hold some teams. With no defensive coordinator here, with no Todd Grantham, that's probably some addition by subtraction, in my opinion. I'm going to take Missouri here to cover this number, just because I just don't trust anything about Florida right now. But, I would probably just stay away from this thing as a whole. It just looks like a tricky line to me, and one of those spots where you're primed to just screw up. That game from earlier that I couldn't figure out what it was, that's Washington at Colorado. Colorado is catching 6.5 at home against Washington. The wet fart bowl. Really disappointing team in Washington fired their coach a couple of weeks ago, and Colorado has just sucked all year out loud. You know what? I'm going to go with the home underdog here, just because I don't give a shit. UCLA at USC. USC is catching 3.5 at home against UCLA. And, everybody I've listened to on these Vegas podcasts, so this is a sucker bet. This is USC all the way. Why? UCLA has actually been pretty impressive this year. They've kind of dropped some games when it counted, and they're not going to win the Pac-12 South, but USC's been terrible. They fired their coach, and most of the times you see teams rally around each other after they fire their coach, and they play some pretty decent football. What did they do? The first week after they'd fired Clay Helton, they went out and laid a giant sedan-sized turd against Oregon State. I don't see them winning this game. I really don't think that they have a whole lot to play for at this point. I think UCLA does, and I think they win the what is it they call this, the I-5 rival? I don't remember what they call it. Something like that. UCLA, give me the Bruins to win and cover that 3.5 against the Trojan man. Baylor on the road at Kansas State. K-State laying 1 at home. I like K-State in this game. They're tough at home. The Little Apple over there in Manhattan, Kansas. Baylor's coming off of a big emotional win against Oklahoma. Look at it. This could be a flat spot here where you can come out, not play that well, and I think Kansas State can take advantage of that. But defensively, they're a pretty good team, and I think they can shut down some of what Baylor does. Baylor's a pretty good team defensively, too. This will be a low-scoring game, but one that I think K-State will win. Auburn at South Carolina. South Carolina catches 7.5 at home against Auburn. I'm taking Auburn in this game. South Carolina showed me absolutely nothing last week to build on after the really impressive game against Florida. You know, where the Florida players had flu, plague, AIDS. I think also, some of them also may have had typhoid fever. But you know, they did nothing after that pretty impressive performance against Mizzou. They actually went out there and shut down both legs last week. And until they show me otherwise, I'm not going to be picking them to cover any more spreads like that. Going ahead and give me Auburn to cover the 7.5. Virginia Tech on the road at Miami. Miami is laying 7.5 at home against Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech just fired Justin Fuente. From what you can see around locker room chatter and just things I've picked up on the internet, I don't think the players there really cared for him all that much. Might be one of the reasons why he got gone right before the season was over with. You know, right? A lot of times that's the way it is, especially like with Will Muschamp last year with the game. I mean, things are just so bad. The fans are just such an uproar that the athletic department and administration decided to go on ahead and move in a different direction before the season is concluded. Kind of same thing happened at Virginia Tech with Fuentes. And I don't know what the numbers are when coaches get fired next week. How does the team perform? I think this is a spot where Virginia Tech goes out and covers this number. Miami's not done anything this year impressive. I mean, this is probably going to be a flat spot for them. They come out after blowing a lead. They lose their rivalry game to Florida State. I think they're just about packed it in too. And Manny Diaz's future down there is definitely really cloudy. I think that if Miami gets a beat on and feels like they can get their man, that he'll probably be gone as well. If not, he may hang on for a little bit longer. But I'm going to take the Hokies to cover that 7.5 point spread on the road at Miami. And the final game I have here, which is certainly not the final game on the docket, but it's the last one that really interested me. Anything. Oregon on the road against Utah. Utah is laying 3.5 at home, and everybody's like, well, they're just disrespecting Oregon. They're disrespecting the Ducks and what they've done this year. You know, that's not fair. Well, it is. I think Utah has a pretty good defense, a really good defense actually. Really sound, really well coached. Cam Rising is a good quarterback. And to me, I just swear, Oregon is not, they don't look like a playoff team to me. They don't. They look like a fringe top 10 team to me, but they don't look like a solid top 4 team in the country. However, this year, honestly, it's really been Georgia and everybody else. But somebody else has got to step up, and I just don't think it's Oregon. I just don't think it is. They'll have to play Utah twice anyway. I think they lose this one. Give me the Utes to cover the spread at home. I think they win that game outright. All right, guys, that is the Carolina Jackpot picks against the spread for week number 12 of the college football season. We'll try to recap these at some point in time tomorrow. Going to be busy a lot, and I'm fixing to go be working out of town a lot further from home than when I was. Probably going to be about 3 hours from home. But we'll still continue to do the Carolina Jackpot videos and the live shows and all that stuff because, you know, internet travels. Anyway, so don't worry about any of that stuff. But I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know down in the comment section below some of your best bets for today. And, hey, I hope your team does well today, unless it's Clemson. I'll see y'all later. Appreciate it. Peace. And I'm out. Go Gamecocks. Spurs up to my toes up, baby, even though I didn't pick you today. And go Coach Beamer. Woo!